She thought she had everything under control. He thought he knew who he was living with. One morning, and their entire reality cracked wide open. Behind closed doors, a game was unfolding with stakes far higher than just a marriage. Lies, calculation, betrayal, and a silence so deep you could hear someone's perfect world falling apart. But the most fascinating part began when it seemed like everything was already lost. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started. My name is Derek, and I'm 38 years old. I work as a software engineer in San Francisco. For a while, I thought I had it all figured out. A decent life. You get what I mean, right? From where I stood, everything seemed stable. A good job, a cozy apartment, and a wife I absolutely cherished. Her name was Samantha. We had been married for 3 years, and although things weren't flawless, they felt steady enough. There were no major arguments, no serious problems, just the usual ups and downs of married life, or so I assumed. Things began to shift when Samantha suddenly threw herself headfirst into fitness. She had always dabbled in yoga from time to time, but this was different. It consumed her. She hired a personal trainer named Russell, who worked at a fancy gym downtown. Samantha had always been conscious about her appearance, but this was a whole new level. Fitness became her obsession. She was relentless, monitoring every change in her body, posting endless updates on Instagram, tracking every single calorie she consumed. At first, I didn't think much of it. I supported her. I thought, well, at least she's doing something healthy. I even started picking up more chores around the apartment to free up her schedule so she could focus on her workouts without feeling overwhelmed. I wasn't bitter about it. Honestly, it seemed like a positive thing at first. But over time, something started to feel off. It stopped being about wellness. Samantha was chasing attention. She spent countless hours at the gym, more time with Russell than with me. Her social media turned into a non-stop chronicle of her fitness journey. Every post gushed about self-empowerment and starting a new chapter, with strangers flooding the comments, treating her like she was some sort of celebrity. I remember suggesting a date night once, something simple, just for us to reconnect. She barely looked up from her phone. I can't, Derek. I have a session early tomorrow, she said flatly. I need to stay focused, she added. The way she said it hit me hard. It wasn't just that she was busy. It felt like I didn't even fit into her life anymore. What once was a partnership now felt like a one-sided arrangement. Each day, she drifted further away from me. And then came the morning when everything fell apart. I was sitting at the kitchen table, half asleep, sipping coffee before work. Samantha stood across from me, chugging one of her green smoothies, her eyes glued to her phone. Without any warning, she said, I deserve better. Still half in a daze, I looked up. Better than what? I asked. She placed her drink down and met my gaze with a cold seriousness. This marriage is holding me back, Derek. I'm filing for divorce. For a second, I thought she was messing with me. I let out a nervous laugh, waiting for her to crack a smile. But she didn't. Her face stayed frozen, expressionless. I've outgrown this, she said, like I was an old jacket she was tired of wearing. You wouldn't understand. I sat there stunned, unable to form words. This woman, the person I built a life with, was tearing it apart right in front of me, without a hint of emotion. Anger and confusion boiled inside me. Outgrown what, Samantha? What are you talking about? She exhaled sharply, irritated. Derek, I've worked so hard to become who I am now. And honestly, this life doesn't fit me anymore. I need more than this apartment, this routine, more than you. She didn't sugarcoat it. In that moment, it was obvious. In her eyes, I was dead weight, something she had to leave behind. The home and life we built together had become a cage she needed to break out of. She slung her gym bag over her shoulder and walked out the door without so much as a glance back. I sat there, staring at her half-empty smoothie glass, wondering how everything had crumbled so quickly. That entire day at work, I felt like a ghost. I went through the motions, but my mind was stuck on Samantha, looping the conversation over and over. Could she really just walk away like this? Had everything we built meant so little? Sure, we'd had our disagreements like any couple. But divorce? It felt so sudden, too rehearsed, too cold. She must have been planning this for a long time. The days that followed were a haze. Samantha barely spoke to me. She'd stay out late, saying she had extended training sessions. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just about the gym anymore. She was reinventing herself, and I wasn't part of the new version she was creating. One afternoon, I got home earlier than usual. That's when I overheard her on a phone call, laughing. Really laughing. Something I hadn't heard in weeks. I'm so relieved I finally took control. I'm done with him. He just doesn't get it, she said, her voice light and carefree. I stood frozen, listening. It wasn't just about fitness. She was cutting me out of her life entirely. I was no longer even a consideration in her world. A week later, she sat me down with the final blow. The divorce process was already underway. There were no talks of counseling, no let's work it out, not even a temporary separation. She had made up her mind long before, and there was no space left for me to fight for us. It was painfully clear. Samantha had already started envisioning her new future, one that almost certainly included Russell. I soon realized they were spending far too much time together, and what struck me most was her utter lack of effort to conceal it. She paraded their bond on social media, flooding her feed with photos for all to see. The comments rolled in, praising her glow-up, as if she were eager for the world to witness how effortlessly she could replace me. It was as though our years together meant nothing at all. Russell had transitioned from just her fitness coach to the center of her entire world, while I was relegated to a mere footnote in her narrative. Even though I was aware of what was happening, it didn't ease the pain. My mind kept circling back to how everything had unraveled. Was I too absorbed in my career? Had I missed the signs that she needed more from me? I tried confronting her, searching for an explanation, but she shut me out, refusing to engage in any real conversation. Eventually, she handed me the divorce papers, and it felt like the ground had crumbled beneath me. It was official. The woman I had once loved, supported, and envisioned a future with had moved on. She wasn't simply leaving me. She was abandoning our entire life together. I, however, was stuck under the same roof, unable to force her out due to legal constraints. Left to sift through the wreckage of my life, I found myself questioning how things had gotten so bad. The more I uncovered about Russell, the more my anger grew. Matthew, my relentless attorney, unearthed some unsettling details about Russell's past. This wasn't his first time pulling this stunt. In fact, it had happened twice before. Russell wasn't just some gym enthusiast hunting for lonely women. He was a professional manipulator. He would target married women, shower them with flattering words, convince them they deserved better, and when they left their husbands and ran out of resources, he would vanish without a trace. This wasn't romance. It was a carefully orchestrated game. His expertise lay in making women feel invincible, only to discard them when they couldn't keep up with the illusions he had created. Samantha, unfortunately, was the perfect target. She craved validation and constant reassurance, and Russell had exploited that need. But it wasn't just Samantha's finances that interested him. Russell had his eyes on mine, too. Samantha intended to walk away with half of everything, my savings, alimony, and even the house. She believed she could stroll into court, portray herself as the wronged party, and leave with a fortune. What she didn't anticipate was that Matthew had gathered every piece of evidence we needed, and I wasn't going to let her steamroll me. The next morning, I found her in the kitchen, blending one of those green smoothies she was always posting about on Instagram. But there was no trace of her usual confident demeanor. She muttered something about Russell being busy with new clients, clearly fishing for a reaction. I didn't respond. She wanted me to care, to ask about it, but I wasn't about to give her that satisfaction. A week later, the bombshell came. Matthew called with updates. Samantha had filed additional claims at the last minute, hoping to extract more from the settlement. She even claimed emotional distress, blaming me for the supposed stress she had suffered during our marriage. In her distorted version of reality, I was the cause of her breakdown. But Matthew was ready. He countered with evidence that Samantha had been draining our accounts for months, manipulating situations to her advantage. He even had screenshots of her Instagram, where she flaunted her new life with Russell, hardly the behavior of someone suffering. And then, just like that, Russell vanished. He ghosted her. No more training sessions, no more texts, no returned calls. He even blocked her on all platforms. I overheard her, pacing in the other room, desperately whispering into the phone, "Russell, please call me back. We need to talk." Eventually, one of her so-called friends spilled the truth. Russell had already moved on, setting his sights on a younger, less complicated woman, someone without the baggage of a messy divorce. Samantha was devastated. Her once vibrant Instagram feed fell silent. The gym selfies, the motivational quotes, gone. She even stopped going to the gym altogether. One evening, she attempted to reignite something. She stood awkwardly in the doorway, her voice shaky. "Derek," she began, "maybe we should rethink all of this. Divorce has been so hard, for both of us." I looked at her, waiting for the punchline. "What are you really trying to say, Samantha?" I asked flatly. She sighed, putting on a sorrowful expression. "I just think we rushed things. We had some good times, didn't we?" I almost laughed in her face. "You're the one who wanted this," I reminded her. "You said I was holding you back. Or have you forgotten?" Now that Russell had abandoned her, she was scrambling for a safety net. She tried playing the victim, talking about everything she had given up and how lonely she felt. I wasn't buying it. "You made your choice, Samantha. Now live with it." Her illusionary world was collapsing on its own, and I didn't have to do a thing. Karma was taking care of the rest. Finally, the day in court arrived. Samantha walked in, devoid of her usual bravado. Even her designer wardrobe had been replaced with a modest cardigan, and her attorney, looking more anxious than assured, trailed behind her. Matthew stood beside me, armed with a hefty binder of evidence. I wasn't nervous. I just wanted the truth to be known. Samantha's attorney attempted to paint her as the victim, the wife emotionally abandoned by her neglectful husband. They spun a narrative where my supposed indifference had driven her into Russell's arms. Matthew allowed them to dig themselves into a hole before calmly standing up to dismantle their claims. He presented text messages proving that I had supported her, offering to join her fitness classes, adjusting my work hours, even taking on extra household duties. Then Matthew dropped the bomb. Screenshots of Samantha mocking me to her friends, calling me dead weight while extolling how Russell was her golden ticket to a new life. The final blow? A journal entry Samantha had written herself, outlining her plan to leave me, take as much as she could, and build a future with Russell. One glance at the judge's face told me everything I needed to know. Samantha's game was over. A heavy silence gripped the courtroom. "Mrs. Sutton," the judge said, his voice cutting through the tension as he fixed Samantha with an unyielding stare. "Your claims of emotional distress are unfounded. The evidence shows no pattern of abuse. In fact, it highlights Mr. Sutton's consistent emotional support throughout your marriage." Then came the scrutiny of the finances. Matthew stepped forward with meticulous records in hand, revealing how Samantha had systematically siphoned off thousands from our joint accounts to indulge in her lavish habits. The judge's face hardened with every page. "Mrs. Sutton," he said sharply, You withdrew over $15,000 from marital funds to finance luxury purchases, fine dining, and personal extravagances. Such actions are irresponsible and a clear betrayal of marital trust. Samantha's lawyer rose to object, but the judge silenced him almost instantly. The marital home shall be awarded to Mr. Sutton, the judge continued with finality. Additionally, Mrs. Sutton is ordered to reimburse Mr. Sutton $15,000 for the unauthorized use of shared assets. Samantha's face drained of all color. The bravado she had once paraded evaporated into thin air, and just like that, the proceedings were over. Samantha slumped into her chair, the weight of her defeat pressing down on her. As Matthew and I exited the courtroom, he slapped my back with a grin. "We won," he said simply, satisfaction radiating from him. Days later, Samantha boxed up her things and left. Watching her drive away stirred something inside me, a strange, quiet relief. She had destroyed everything between us, and now she had to face the consequences alone. 2 weeks after the verdict, she showed up at my door without so much as a call. When I opened it, I barely recognized her. Her hair was unkempt, her eyes sunken, and she moved like someone who hadn't rested in days. "Derek," she said, her voice quivering. "Can we talk for a minute?" I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "What do you want, Samantha?" I asked, my tone calm but distant. Her hands twisted together nervously. I just need to say I'm sorry," she said, stumbling over her words. "I made awful decisions. Russell, he used me. I let him. And I destroyed everything we built." Her apology sounded rehearsed, but the raw desperation in her eyes was unmistakable. She wasn't there for forgiveness. She was there because she had nowhere else to turn. "I'm not sure what you're hoping to hear," I said, my voice steady. "You made your bed, Samantha. You chose Russell. You tried to wreck my life. Now you have to live with that." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Can't we at least be on good terms?" she begged. "Maybe start again somehow?" "I have no one, Derek. I've lost everything." I studied her for a long moment, feeling a cool, immovable certainty settle over me. "Samantha," I said softly, "I gave you my loyalty, my trust, and my love, and you threw them away like they meant nothing. You don't get to come back just because your plan fell apart. That's not how life works." She crumbled in front of me, sinking to the ground in sobs. I turned without another word, went inside, and quietly closed the door behind me, leaving her outside with the ruins of the life she had shattered. Since that day, I've moved on. The apartment feels like home again. No tension, no resentment. As for Samantha, word has a way of getting around. I've heard she's still trying to piece together the wreckage she created. She's lost friends, destroyed opportunities, and is now left facing the consequences of her own betrayal. Sometimes karma doesn't just knock, it tears through like a wrecking ball. For Samantha, it left her alone among the ashes of her own making. And for me, it finally brought the peace and closure that I had been searching for all along. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you